Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Well. The ball went very well, to those of you who are interested, and we will be posting stuff about it on this video. But more important is I decided that since Thomas Markle wasn't well enough to come to the ball, and since he has just celebrated his 80th birthday, and since he's in very poor health, and since he has literally bankrupted himself to educate, support, and give his younger daughter every chance in life that he didn't have and that he wasn't initially able to give his two elder children, and the way she has treated him, which I think is a combination of gonorrhea and Regan, so let's call her Gonorrhegan. And if it is evocative, what can I tell you? That which you earn, you deserve to receive the reward of, including contumely. And he is there. And so I have started a birthday fund really so that on GoFundMe. And I kicked in initially, and I am delighted to hear that people have been supporting it. Thank you very much, which is not an entire surprise because I'm going to read out a comment or two. Mr. Thomas Markle Sr. had absolutely no idea I was going to do this. I had no idea I even intended to do this until during Saturday's video, the idea occurred to me, and I asked people what they thought, and they have responded in droves saying they thought it was a good idea. And I knew if I approached him, he might be embarrassed and say no. Well, if he has no choice but to accept the gift of love and the gift of kindness and the gift of those of us who appreciate that he has been a good man, because he has been a good man. Gigi Perot told me that he was the most wonderful man and wonderful father, and she was Meghan's drama teacher at Immaculate Heart. And Gigi Perot is not a flake. She was a child star. She was from a very, very well-established California family, so she wasn't sort of a total arriviste, let's put it that way. She's a very old friend of one of my oldest friends, and I accept her word. And my every experience of Thomas Markle Sr. has been that he is a good and decent man. And he made the point to me when I wished him happy birthday the other day that although what has happened with Meghan is terrible, he put it in slightly different words, but that's really the meaning, that the kindness of people has helped. And I think that's what has given me the idea for us to show him kindness. And I would ask each and every one of you, even if you can only afford $1, actually it's in sterling. And may I make the point as well that it has to be in sterling, because for me to do it, and therefore everybody can be assured that every single penny raised goes to Thomas Markle. There are no hidden expenses, there's no kickbacks, there's nothing Delawarean about this. It is us showing another human being that the world is full of kind and decent people, and in some small measure that each of us can do our bit, and that we can appease, if only somewhat, the tremendous tragedy of his life. Because can you imagine to have loved the way he did, a single father, bringing up a daughter, making all the sacrifices he did, working the long hours he did, and still finding time to take her for treats and to take her hair there and everywhere, and once she'd grown up, to give her allowances, pay for apartments, etc., etc. And look at the way she has rewarded him. So I'm going to read out very briefly one or two comments, and then we're plunging in with other stuff. Anno Dam says, it's an ingenious idea, Lady C, to set up a birthday fund for Thomas Markle. He's a decent human being who deserves to live comfortably in his later years. And I have set the target relatively modestly, and it would be wonderful if we can sort of just leave it in the background and gallop on. And the money will be going to him and him alone, incidentally. Freelou in Paris says, please, Lady C, start a Thomas Markle fund and we will support him. I can't imagine how horrible his last days on earth must feel, being shunned by a daughter he clearly loved so dearly. Let's give some flowers while he is alive. God bless. And Catherine Burke says, those pushing for a cashless society should take heed of the global IT debacle the other day. Thomas Markle deserves a birthday fund. It would be a slap in the face to that dreadful daughter of his. And to transfer from one subject to the other, I'm going to read out what Rosemary says. The Microsoft problems highlight the intense dangers of WEF-style globalism and the organizations that Meghan and Harry support that plan to curtail the rights of the majority of the world's population to enable them to enforce their nefarious aims. It's control, darling. It's control and power. Look how important I am. And I'm so important, I can tell all of you little people what to do. Mr. DeMille, get that camera ready. I'm ready for my close-up. The situation clearly illustrates the importance of avoiding their globalist agenda, doesn't it just? This bleep has been quite edifying because it has been inadvertent, accidental, a tiny thing that has had vast consequences for tens of millions of people all over the world. If you can imagine what a little accident like that has had the effect it has had, what something purposeful and far more focused and far more intentionally damaging would do. And can you imagine if we ended up in a proper war, a proper international war, which, it has to be said, too many of the politicians are pushing for, thinking, oh, if I flex my muscles, I'm going to beat up the big guy. They're going to beat all of us up, and I do not think it's worth it. I think there are two major problems at the moment, and both of them have an actual solution that we should be aiming for. Jane Evans says, "Hi Lady C, enjoy your videos every day. I think a fund for Thomas Markle is a wonderful idea and would support it as well. Hope your ball went beautifully and a great time was had by all. Love to you, Mickey and Aurora." Jane Evans, yes, the ball was a success. So much so that several people have asked that I do it again next year, and I most likely will. The atmosphere, everybody said, was lovely, and I felt it was lovely. Everything went very smoothly. The food was delicious, the service was wonderful, the people were marvellous and glamorous and beautifully turned out, and it was just a lovely evening from beginning to end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post 1 or 2 photographs now of 1 or 2 of the major players that you will know of. And then at the end, I'm going to get them to post a lot of the photographs of the event, so those who wish to see can have a taste of what is going to be on offer. And sorry, was on offer. I'm slightly distracted because I'm thinking, I need to note at which point this is so that everything can be inserted. So, to resume, Katie Forrest says, "Hello, Lady C and lovely fur babies. Hello. Do you think that the divorce rumours are totally put out by them to keep interest in their miserable lives? Without those rumours, there would be no news of them since the Tillman Award." Sorry for laughing. Oh, Katie Forrest. It's so wonderful that so many of us have powers of discernment and well-honed senses of skepticism. It is absolutely possible It is more than possible. It is even likely. But let us wait and see, because Harry has been in a very bad way. Now, if what Meghan's track record with other men is anything to go by, well, Harry has good reason. Sorry. Harry has a very good reason to be in the state that he's in, because he is looking at a life that has been devastated and destroyed. And he has been the willing follower of the architect of his destruction. Sometimes in life, things are actually happening that maybe aren't going to lead to total conclusion at this time. I don't know that I would bank on Harry and Meghan getting divorced day after tomorrow. I wouldn't even bank on them getting divorced at all. But I certainly will, going off my parents' marriage, bank on the fact that there are a few highs and tremendous lows. And I'm going to leave it at that for the moment. Little Ducky Doodle says, "How do you do, Lady Campbell? How do you do? I hope all is well with you and your household. I must say, I always have such a lovely, informative time listening to your broadcasts. Thank you very much. I do try. Thank you for taking the time to share with us your vast knowledge." My head. We need to make sure it doesn't get swollen too much, but thanks for the compliment. Which is why I would like to bring a question to your attention, if you don't mind, that I've been pondering for a while now. I have a blossoming idea that Harry and Meghan are playing buffoons as they dupe us all. The Royal Grift YouTuber has tied Harry's name to many behind-the-scenes secret meetings with US politicians, globalist meetings with African parks times. I poo-poo 99% of the conspiracy theories I hear, but these make so much diabolical sense. Knowing the royal family and Harry as you do, could powerful figures be behind him and Meghan, lining their pockets in trade for his influence? Harry saying he knew about January the 6th, 2021 in the US before it happened is shocking in more ways than one. Even more shocking is no one questioning him about it. Point taken. There are just too many things not adding up. Thank you very much for your time and thought in this matter. Stay blessed. Well, let me put it this way. Harry is undoubtedly well connected, and Meghan has hustled those buns to make sure that she was as well connected as she could, and she has milked every one of Harry's connections that she felt would be useful and created through him her own. But she had one or two before, like John Fitzpatrick. You know, she's been sucking up to the Democrats for some time now, in the hope that something would give, and what's really given has been her influence and her reputation. Because I'll tell you how it works. If you're well placed, You have access to information that other people don't have access to. The higher up the totem pole you go, is the smaller the circles is that spins. But the spin-off has a wide effect. Because Aurora, come honey, come. Because of that, Harry is well connected, and Harry being a member of the British royal family even now, even though he is really becoming something of a pariah and has been disgraced, but people will still skin their teeth, albeit reluctantly, and give him a degree of respect that he does not earn as an individual going off his recent conduct. And Meghan certainly has never had any entitlement to and still doesn't. But she's a networker and she's a hustler. And they have been hustling. I mean, the way they conducted themselves at the Lion King premiere with Bob Iger was that of two well-placed hustlers hustling. That was not a couple that is being managed by any Blofeld, so to speak. They're both too unmanageable to actually be of real use to anybody, save as agents of chaos. And chaos, to be effective in political terms or influence terms, should be controllable, at least beyond a certain point, not up to a certain point, beyond a certain point. It is perfectly natural that a prince of the United Kingdom would, in the course of his life, cross paths with the major players politically and commercially and economically and in terms of charity. Harry and Meghan don't need a Blofeld for that. I think Harry and Meghan are cheap and vulgar hustlers who have been exploiting their position for her ultimate financial ambitions. And he has gone along with it because she has told him that she could make him bigger than William. As simple as that. William would have Britain, they would have the rest of the world, and they would even manage to detach the Commonwealth by playing the race card, etc. I'm not saying they said it in those words, but they certainly acted it out. So, you know, just because things are linked and there are connections doesn't mean there's some puppeteer pulling the strings. And that doesn't mean that there are not puppeteers who do pull strings. Just not, I think, in this instance. And certainly not the way people think. Harry and Meghan are too chaotic, too destructive, and too much in the public eye constantly to be good agents of anything but destruction. They thought they were going to use publicity to make themselves a shed load of money, and it's not working. Because the truth is, victimhood is deeply unglamorous. And if you want to give to a victim, you quickly want to move on, because most people don't actually want, unless they are somehow disturbed, they do not actually want to be too close to victims too often, because they are worried that they might end up being caught in a spiral of victimhood. And most people do not find victimhood desirable. Christine Davis says, "Hello to you, Lady C, and to your beautiful fur babies. Woof woof. I have a question. If Harry and Meghan were to divorce and it came out during the process that the children were in fact born of surrogates, would that affect their position in the line of succession? Also, if they must remain in the US, how can they possibly accede to the throne?" Well, I'll answer the second question first. King George I was the Elector of Hanover. He was born in Hanover. He was brought up in Hanover. He spent much of his reign in Hanover, and he became King of England. He actually became the King of Great Britain, because by then the Act of Union had taken place. So he was the King of England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. I hope that clarifies that aspect of it. That, of course, was in the early 1700s. I do not think that the British people, or indeed any other monarchy existent today, would accept a foreign-born and foreign-raised prince or princess as monarch. I don't think it would happen. So, even though theoretically it has happened, and it could therefore happen again according to precedent and by law, I think they would make sure it couldn't happen by Parliament legislating to the contrary. So those children have no chance of acceding to the throne on the basis of the fact alone that they have been brought up in the United States of America. The British people do not want Archie Bunker as king. Sorry. Even the American people ultimately got fed up with Archie Bunker being king of the airwaves. We don't want him to be king of our waves in any way, shape, or form. To answer the second part of your question, of course, your question is hypothetical, so I will answer it as a hypothesis. If it came out during the process that the children were in fact born of surrogates, they would immediately lose their right to a place in the line of succession. They would be rendered illegitimate, and it would be, in my view, totally unacceptable to the British people for those children to remain in the line of succession, or for Parliament to legitimise them retrospectively and thereby allow them to remain in the line of succession. I hope that answers the question. It's very hypothetical, and of course, hypotheses are one thing and reality is another, but we're sticking to the hypothesis. Gideon says, "Lady C, will you kindly clarify something for me, please? You mentioned that Harry could not return here for tax reasons until the 6th of April 2026. The tax year ending 2026 starts 6th April 2025. Did you mean Harry could not return until April 6th, 2025? Or is he really stopped from returning until 2026? My information from my financial wizard, my accounting wizard, is that he cannot return until the 6th of April 2026. Not 2025, 2026. That means if Harry's marriage gets into trouble and he wants to decamp, Zimbabwe, here we come. Or maybe it should be Botswana, here we come. Annie says, hello, Lady C. Hypothetically, if Harry and Meghan were to get a divorce, do you think Harry's going to use it as a chance to turn himself into a martyr? I love this question, by the way. I cannot help but think that he's going to play the victim again, only from a different angle this time. He will look for sympathy from the public. The mainstream media in the UK will eat it all up, and he will become this brave man speaking out, telling the story of his survival. I used to be in a long-term abusive marriage. I know how being in a narcissistic relationship can turn one into a completely different person. That is why I do feel a little bit of compassion towards Harry. However, I believe one should always take responsibility for one's actions. Meanwhile, I can already picture the headlines. Prince Harry speaks on hidden abuse. Men can also be victims, says Prince Harry. I love that headline. The traumatized prince says, don't ever give up, and so on. You should be a sub-editor. Oh, I love it. What's your opinion, Lady C? I know everyone's expecting Meghan to write a book, but perhaps we should also be looking Harry's way. I think that the relationship with Meghan has been his first glimpse of what life can truly be like when you start living it like an adult, an actual adult, sorry. Oh, dear. Without the palace's protection. It is my opinion that once he fully realizes the depth of the situation he's been in, he will see himself as the only person this has ever happened to. It will be the my brother got the bigger bedroom situation all again. I feel that instead of owning up to his mistakes, he's going to wear this experience like a badge of honor. I would like to hear your opinion on this, dear Lady C. Thank you for your insightful programs, kind spirit, and openness. Sending love to you and your fur babies. From Annie and Bella the doggy. Well, Annie. Harry is paranoid. You only need to look at what he said in Spare to see he's paranoid. And he does wear the victim cloak as if it were a sable mantle. I suspect, though, that if they get divorced, Harry might initially try that, but I think if he stands any chance of having anything approaching a dignified, civilized life, he is going to be very much encouraged to keep his trap shut. But that doesn't mean all that you envisage isn't going to happen privately. Being with Harry at a country house weekend will be a nightmare of one diatribe after the other of how unfortunate he was, how victimized he has been, how terrible the press was to him. Because Harry's going to not only blame Meghan if it comes to that. He's going to blame the press. He's going to blame everybody who he feels didn't worship at his altar. Harry was disturbed before. Of that, there's no doubt. Meghan simply fed his disturbance. She has allowed him, she has encouraged him to indulge his disturbance until it has become internationally disturbing. That doesn't mean it wasn't there before. But Harry before Meghan could be very charming, could be very cooperative, was always up for a bit of fun, trying to fit in, be hail fellow, well met. Harry, since Meghan takes himself, oh, I'm a big shot and you need to treat me with respect. RESPECK, respect. Daria. Superb weed. Ayahuasca. Oh. Well, let's see what happens. Because as you describe the scenario, it is a possibility, and certainly the newspapers will be running with all of that in any way, because even if the royal family tells Harry to keep his trap shut as a price for him being back, even very grudgingly and loosely, as an accepted collateral as opposed to a main entity, he will find ways of leaking stuff to the press. He's got used to the fact that when you are a sieve, water pours through you. Water has poured through him and Meghan. Meghan leaks everything to the press, according to people who know her well, and Harry has gone along with it. And Harry will doubtless do it. So I think the headlines, as you envisage them, are going to happen, whether he actually colludes directly or not. But, once a victim, and once you've acquired the taste of victimhood, I would imagine it's very difficult to give it up. Personally speaking, I have always made absolutely sure that I do not surround myself with people who practice victimhood. I think it is anti-life, very destructive, very spiritually enervating, and a bore. K. Hirgizia says, wonderful words in support of a process. It is time to collaborate on a world scale on solving problems that threaten all life on our beautiful planet. I couldn't agree more. And I think this is something that we should be seriously turning our attention to. And I think it's something that I would like to revisit time and again in the near future, because I think we live in a very, very turbulent times politically. But I suspect at the end of the day it's going to be all right. But only if we, the public, do our bit. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please keep the questions and comments coming in. And at the end of this, I am going to post some other photographs of the ball. So please feel free to scroll through them and have a good time. Thank you so much. Godspeed. And if you have truly enjoyed this, will you care to like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and take good care. Bye-bye.